From the newsroom of ImpactAlpha, I'm Monique Aiken, and this is your Impact Briefing for Friday, November 3rd. Today, ImpactAlpha's Dennis Price catches up with María Hollan, a Mexico City-based investor who is working to introduce her family office to impact investing. But first, here's what you need to know from the week in impact investing. Call it the big chill. At least that's the effect on climate action that the Republican majority on the House Judiciary Committee seemed to be hoping for, based on this week's roundup of subpoenas to shareholder activists and industry initiatives. The committee, led by Jim Jordan of Ohio, demanded documents from nonprofit shareholder advocate As You Sow and the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, or GFANZ. The committee appears to be targeting Climate Action 100 Plus, an investor effort to press big corporate greenhouse gas emitters to adopt transition plans. Jordan wrote, quote, "Corporations are collectively adopting and imposing left-wing environmental, social, and governance, or ESG-related goals." As You Sow's Andrew Behar called the committee's action anti-business and an attack on shareholder rights and told ImpactAlpha, quote, "We own the company. The board reports to us." The pushback comes as mandatory climate disclosures are ramping up. California's landmark climate disclosure law, signed last month, will apply to some 5,000 large public and private companies. The European Union will require large public companies to report their emissions next year. And lobbying is fierce around the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission's climate disclosure rules, which are expected to be announced before the end of the year. The most controversial piece in all of the efforts is the reporting of so-called Scope 3 emissions generated in corporate supply chains and by end users of their products. For oil companies, for example, that means all the gasoline burned by automobiles. In a guest post on ImpactAlpha this week, Series' Laura Drucker busted 3 myths about Scope 3. And sticking with climate, investors are increasingly recognizing the key role of women in climate solutions. This month's Agents of Impact call will put a gender lens on climate investing to kick off ImpactAlpha's partnership with Heading for Change, the investment fund and legacy project of the late Suzanne Beagle and her husband Daniel Maskett. Among the guests will be Camilla Nestor of MCE Social Capital, which this week raised nearly $42 million for its MESA fund, which makes loans to improve the climate resilience of smallholder farmers and create economic opportunities for women. The call is Wednesday, November 15th, and you can RSVP using the link in the show notes. Now it's time for our featured conversation from the recent Gender Lens Investing Forum in Medellín, Colombia. Dennis Price chatted with María Hollan, who is part of a younger generation of investors that is seeking to introduce impact investing to their family offices and to their parents and grandparents. Let's listen into their conversation about how the transition is going.
Can you talk a little bit about your family's journey to impact investing?
Yes. So I'm a second generation of a family business, and in the family business, and I'm the fourth generation in the philanthropy in the family. So my journey started working in my family business, and then I realized at some point that as a family, as a business, we were taking into account all stakeholders, and that not everyone else does that, not every company does that. And especially with my MBA, I learned, what good success case studies were. And for me, I realized I had a different meaning of success. So I was very interested in that, the consequences that you can have within a business, with the beneficiaries and with all stakeholders. And so during my MBA, I learned about impact investing, and for me, it made complete sense. As a family, we had only been doing negative screening since a long time, but nothing. They would send us to the philanthropy areas of banks because there was not such a thing on impact investing. But then when I learned about it, and it made sense, so I spoke to my family about it, and we've been trying to do impact investing. We started with 2 direct investing, and then I think it was a good way to get involved and be passionate about a cause. But also, then I realized probably there's more than that, and you can have impact as a complete portfolio.
And so originally there was sort of impact in the philanthropy side of the family office,
Yes.
and non-impact or just sort of market rate investments on the other side. So what are some of the myths or the assumptions that your family had to overcome, or that you had to convince your family of, that that made them come around to doing more investments? What are some of the assumptions they had
Yeah.
about impact investing?
Well, I'm still working on it, and especially with all our family members, more extended family. I think there is this view. Well, first of all, not many know about that impact investing exists.
Mm.
So even my friends, family, when I am out of the circle, the impact circle, I always have to be one doing impact investing. What is that? And the ones who have heard about it, most of them think that that's philanthropy. And in Mexico, I think, and also in Latin America, probably there are many family foundations that are very traditional. So I think there's a huge opportunity there as well.
Mhm.
But then people think that impact investing is only philanthropy.
Mm-hmm. And so one way to overcome that was to actually get your hands dirty and do some direct investments you mentioned. Can you share a bit about those?
So we first invested in a company that is a coding bootcamp for migrants, and so the impact was also great there. The company didn't go so well, and but for other reasons, and I think that was also a very good learning for us, because we are not experts in doing due diligence. I mean, not without even talking about impact before, but we had the intent, and also my father has very entrepreneurial mindset.
Mhm.
So we did direct investment, but we realized we needed to do something else with people who are actually good in that. So either we also invested in some funds that are really good, and we have done other investments, but in that sense, but you don't get so involved in us when you do direct investing. And one thing that we realize is that if we do one direct investing in, or there's, or the funds, they only serve certain type of companies, and and often people say that there's not enough demand or companies that are investment ready. But then how can we get those more companies to be investment ready if you don't have that base? And I saw, well, in other countries, that that's often what governments do. They help doing that, and build a base so that then the investors can come. And in countries, in some countries like Latin America, that sometimes that doesn't happen. So you need philanthropy as well. You need to break that base and have the
So in a way,
bridge it up. So that's where we found some partners that are experts in the field in impact investing in Mexico. They know the ecosystem. They also know the accelerators, and with them we invested in this company called Iguala, and it's a lending platform for women entrepreneurs. And with that, we give it often is the first credit, so 72% of the portfolio is our first credit, and we also have revenue-based lending structures, or also pay for impact, or prices for impact. So if we set certain kind of goals, and if they achieve them, they can have a discount of the rate because of the impact. And we're doing blended finance, also trying to get philanthropy, different types of capital, philanthropy, and then private money, so that we can get, instead of the government were before, we're trying to innovate in financial ways how we can help these days.
So you found, as a family office that's sort of in control of your own money, that you could take a little more risk and play a role in the market that was more catalytic.
Yes, and I think that's exactly where family offices would be great, because there's a big opportunity in investments where family offices can have a lot more flexibility that you cannot have in big foundations. You have many mandates or institutional. So family offices can have the flexibility to do more investments. For example, we started with equity, then we decided it was needed in debt, depending on what's needed. And also this company, Liwala, is very flexible in terms of, because we create the products of what we're listening to the market, not imposing the product. So it has changed also quite a bit. So I think for them, it's also good that we are flexible in that way. And I think that's where family offices are great.
You mentioned one investment that failed, which is normal in non-impact investing as well. And then this other one sounds like it's been successful. Has the business case within your family for impact investing, like either a market rate investment or alpha in the investment, maybe you find something that outperforms because of the impact. Has that resonated with your family, or are you still building the case?
I'm still building the case. That's a good question, because I think for that part of the impact, they were very happy about it. We say that that's never going to be a unicorn, but we call it can be a unicorn in terms of impact. So that's great. But then talking about all other asset classes, we're talking about a full portfolio where there's that you have certain risk, and then you want that for the next generations, and then it's it hasn't been that easy. And also for me, because I didn't study finance, I don't know about how to do it, and we ask the advisors, they often didn't know about it. So I also had to educate myself and then educate them. So it's not that easy to build a case. What I have done that has been very helpful is joining other groups of families globally, that we can talk with each other, and also that they can talk with some family members that are in similar situations, similar age, so that they could hear that from someone else. But I'm still building a case, so I'm not there yet.
We're here at the GLI Forum Latam, which is a gender lens investing focused conference, and we've seen a lot of new structures. We've seen bonds, we've seen new funds. Is that sort of institutional grade type of investments, are those exciting? Do you think that helps move families like yours more towards impact when they see products that look familiar, perhaps?
Yes, and I didn't know that there were so many products that I've seen these days. So it has been really amazing to be here. And I think many families would be very interested in, especially families in Latin America, that obviously when they want to do impact, they want to do it in the region. So to have other asset classes as well, it going into impact and gender lens, that the effect can be multiplying, the impact can be multiplying. The only thing that I would say it would be needed is more education for all these families that they don't even know that it existed, and for someone not having to go all the journey that I did in order to learn about it, and because it hasn't been offered to us by where we normally would get advice from. So
sounds
to
like
have more awareness about impact investing, and that you can have impact and also good financial returns. I think so. Probably that's also your job, right?
ImpactAlpha in Spanish, in Español.
Exactly.
And more conferences like these, of course.
Yes.
Well, Maria, thank you for joining us, and keep us attuned of your journey, and look forward to following. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that's going to do it for this week's Impact Briefing. Thanks to Maria, Dennis, and our producer, Isaac Silk. Sign up for ImpactAlpha Open, our free weekly newsletter, directly at ImpactAlpha.com. Or become a subscriber to get full access to our award-winning daily coverage in impact investing and sustainable finance. Just go to ImpactAlpha.com/subscribe. Thank you for listening. I'm Monique Aiken, Managing Director for CHIP, the Investment Integration Project. Be sure to check back for next week's briefing, and until then, take care.